Imagine you're preparing a surprise for your loved one. Every detail is carefully planned, the perfect dinner, candles, the atmosphere. You're waiting, burning with anticipation, but she doesn't come. She doesn't pick up the phone. And then you find out where she really is. Your world starts to fall apart. Lies, betrayal, secret meetings. You stare the truth in the face, and it is merciless. But what will you do next? Will you make a scene? Turn a blind eye to the betrayal? Or will you turn this game into a chess match where you have the final, decisive move? Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as every like truly inspires me. Please tell me which city and country you watched this video from. Now, let's get started. The course of my life veered sharply on the day I stumbled upon the devastating truth about my wife, Sophia. My name is Anthony, and never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be recounting such an agonizing experience. Yet, here I am, sharing my story, because I know I am not alone in facing such heartbreak. I had unwavering faith in my marriage, in the woman I had promised to stand beside for life. For nearly 10 years, I believed we had built something solid, something that could withstand any storm. But life has a cruel way of stripping away our most cherished illusions. After nearly a decade together, I was convinced I knew every facet of Sophia's heart. She delighted in thoughtful gestures, found joy in the smallest details, and I prided myself on anticipating the things that would bring her happiness. So, when her birthday approached, I resolved to make it unforgettable. Not just an ordinary dinner, but a truly special experience. I arranged everything meticulously. I cleared my schedule, took the day off work, and even hired a professional chef to prepare a spectacular meal. As the chef worked his magic in the kitchen, I carefully transformed our dining area, ensuring every element was distinct from a typical evening at home. My goal was to make it feel personal, intimate, a true tribute to her. In my mind, I could already see her reaction, the way her face would light up as she stepped inside, the way she would inhale the rich aroma of the meal, taking in the effort behind every detail. I imagined our eyes meeting, her expression a mix of warmth and astonishment, silently asking, "Did you really do all this for me?" I checked the clock. She was due home in less than an hour. Everything was set. What I didn't realize was that this night would shatter me in ways I never saw coming. An hour slipped by. Then another. Sophia was still nowhere to be found. That wasn't like her. She always returned by 6:30, sometimes 7 Mao at the latest. I hesitated, debating whether to call her. I didn't want to ruin the surprise. Instead, I decided to check her location. From the beginning of our marriage, we had shared our phone locations for safety. But as I pulled up her whereabouts, my heart sank. She wasn't on her way home. She was at a restaurant downtown. My first instinct was to believe it was a spontaneous office celebration, a gesture from her colleagues. Still, I needed to be sure. I needed to confirm that she wasn't filling up on an impromptu meal when a carefully prepared dinner awaited her at home. Taking a deep breath, I dialed her number. The phone rang twice before she answered. "Hey, babe," she said, her tone even, though slightly preoccupied. "Hey," I responded, forcing a casual tone. "Are you on your way home?" A pause, then a sigh. "Not yet," she admitted. "Work is insane today. I'm drowning in reports, and I'll probably be here late." My stomach twisted. She was lying. Her location was displayed clearly on my screen. She wasn't buried in reports at her desk. She was sitting in a restaurant, while I sat at home, waiting, the night I had planned so carefully unraveling before my eyes. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I forced out a chuckle. "No worries. I'll see you when you get home." The moment the call ended, I stood motionless, my mind a storm of thoughts. What was I supposed to do? Take her word at face value? Convince myself there was an innocent explanation? Every fiber of my being wanted to believe that she would call back, and clear up the misunderstanding. But she didn't. The silence stretched on, heavy with unspoken truths. So I grabbed my keys and left. The drive to the restaurant felt excruciatingly long, though it was only a few miles away. My mind spun in frantic circles, clinging to any reasonable explanation. Maybe I was misinterpreting things. Maybe there was a logical reason for all this. But the moment I arrived, one look through the restaurant's large glass windows crushed whatever fragile hope I had been holding on to. There she was, seated at an intimate table set for two, and she wasn't alone. Opposite her sat a man I instantly recognized, her colleague, the one she had introduced me to at a company event months earlier. The way they leaned toward each other, the way they laughed softly, their eyes meeting with an unspoken connection, there was nothing casual about it. Even if this was just a friendly dinner, why would she lie about it? Her office wasn't anywhere near this restaurant. None of it made sense. The pieces didn't fit. And yet, the truth was unfolding before me, undeniable and cruel. I watched as she smiled, lost in a moment that belonged in a romance movie. Except this wasn't fiction. And I was the one being written out of the story. I needed proof. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone, dialing her number while keeping my eyes on her. The device on the table in front of her lit up immediately. She glanced at the screen. For a fleeting second, I hoped she would answer. That she would pick up and offer an explanation that would make all of this disappear. But she didn't. Instead, she exhaled softly, silenced the call, and turned the phone face down, as if it were nothing more than an inconvenient distraction. Then she returned her full attention to him, smiling, completely absorbed in their conversation. Something inside me fractured beyond repair. I didn't barge in. I didn't create a scene. I simply lifted my phone, took a few quiet photos, and turned away. The drive home was a blur, a hollow silence wrapping around me. I felt empty, as though something fundamental had been ripped from me, leaving me unsure of how to even begin processing it. Once home, I sat in the dark, staring at nothing, my thoughts too chaotic to unravel. What was I supposed to do now? Confront her? Pretend I had seen nothing? The storm of emotions raging inside me was too overwhelming to face alone. I needed clarity. I needed someone who could cut through the fog of my emotions and help me see the truth for what it was. So, I picked up my phone and dialed the one person who had never sugarcoated reality. Flynn, my best friend since college. The second he answered, his voice was thick with concern. "Anthony? What's wrong?" I hesitated, struggling to find the words. But then, unable to hold it in any longer, I told him everything. Flynn hesitated briefly before releasing a heavy sigh. "I don't like being the bearer of bad news, but this doesn't look good," he admitted, his tone serious. Leaning forward slightly, his voice took on a sharper edge. "You can't just ignore this and hope it goes away. Before you make a move, you need to be absolutely certain about what's really happening." His words hit harder than I expected. Had this been going on far longer than I realized? Was it more than just a single night? Running a weary hand over my face, I exhaled sharply. "What am I supposed to do?" Flynn didn't hesitate. "You hire a professional," he said without missing a beat. "A private investigator. Someone who can get to the bottom of this and bring you the full truth. That way, when the time comes, there's no room for lies, no way to twist the facts. You'll have everything in front of you." That night, Sophia didn't come home until after 10. I remained seated at the dining table, motionless, staring at the meal that had long since gone cold. The candles had burned low, their wax congealing into hardened drips, their flickering light casting jagged shadows across untouched plates. This wasn't how I had envisioned the evening. In my mind, things had played out so differently. Instead, she stepped inside, letting out an exaggerated sigh as she dropped her bag by the door. Running a hand through her hair, She wore the kind of exhaustion that seemed too deliberate, her expression shifting into a practiced look of regret. "Babe, I'm so sorry," she murmured, her voice heavy with artificial remorse. "Work was insane today. They pushed the deadline up at the last minute. I had no choice but to stay. I hated missing tonight." I said nothing, just watched her. It was too smooth, too polished, every word falling into place like a script she had rehearsed 100 times before. The woman I had built a life with was standing before me, feeding me a lie without the slightest hesitation. Swallowing the bitter knot of anger tightening in my throat, I forced a nod. "I get it," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "Work can be unpredictable." She stepped closer, pressing a soft kiss against my cheek. I wanted to recoil, to pull away from the weight of her deception, but I didn't. Instead, I managed a measured smile and gestured toward the untouched meal. "I saved you a plate," I offered. She shook her head, feigning exhaustion. "Too tired to eat," she said. Another lie. That night, while she slept soundly beside me, I made my decision. By morning, I had reached out to a private investigator and set up a meeting. If my marriage was crumbling, I needed to know just how deep the cracks ran. For the next month, I played the part, maintaining the illusion of normalcy while the investigator worked. It was an exhausting act. Waking up beside Sophia, sitting through breakfast conversations, listening to her talk about her day, all the while knowing she was slipping away to be with someone else. The investigator worked quickly. Within 2 weeks, he had already gathered an overwhelming amount of evidence. Photos, videos, time-stamped records, proof that left no room for doubt. Sophia wasn't meeting up with a stranger. She was seeing a man she had casually introduced to me before, brushing him off as just a colleague. But this wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment. It wasn't a single mistake. Their meetings weren't confined to hotels. They met in bars, restaurants, cozy cafes tucked away from prying eyes, parking lots, where they sat together in her car for hours, each rendezvous planned with meticulous care. Then came the final, crushing blow. He wasn't just some colleague, he was married too. His wife, completely unaware, was at home, caring for their family, oblivious to the betrayal unfolding behind her back. The irony was sickening. 2 people, deceiving the ones who had trusted them most, weaving elaborate lies to protect their own selfish desires. By the time the investigator handed me the final report, I had everything I needed. Irrefutable proof, photographic evidence, video recordings, detailed logs of every meeting. I could have shattered their lives with a single move, exposed them for who they truly were. But I didn't. Sophia wasn't just an ordinary employee. She was a senior figure in her company, respected, admired. If this affair became public, it wouldn't just be a scandal, it would be catastrophic. The company had strict policies against workplace relationships, especially between higher-ups and their subordinates. If HR caught wind of this, it wouldn't just end in an awkward conversation, it could cost her everything: a demotion, termination, even legal consequences if the other man's wife decided to pursue action. I wasn't interested in revenge. I wanted control. I wanted a clean break. No drawn-out battles, no accusations hurled back and forth. With the evidence I had, I could dictate the terms. She would sign the divorce papers and leave quietly. And if she refused, then the truth would find its way into the right hands. That night, Sophia came home late again. Same routine, same tired excuses. She sighed dramatically, setting her bag down with a theatrical rub of her temples. "You wouldn't believe the day I had," she said, exhaustion dripping from her words. It was non-stop from morning till now. I didn't respond right away. I just watched her, letting the silence stretch between us. For weeks I had played along, nodding, smiling, pretending to believe her. Not tonight. "There's no need to keep pretending," I said at last, my voice calm but unwavering. A flicker of confusion crossed her face, quickly replaced by something else. Fear. Her gaze followed mine to the folder resting on the table. Beside it, a neat stack of papers. "What? What is this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I leaned forward, meeting her eyes without wavering. "Your choices," I said evenly. "Sign the divorce papers, and we walk away from this clean. No mess, no drawn-out fights." My fingers tapped against the folder. Or, I make sure the truth reaches exactly where it needs to go. I sent it to your company's HR, your colleagues, and your lover's wife. Her face drained of color. She didn't even need to open the folder in her hands. She already knew what was inside. A step backward, a slight shake of her head, as if putting distance between herself and the evidence, might somehow make it disappear. "Anthony, please. It's not what you think," she said, her voice trembling with desperation. "Just let me explain." I stayed silent. I had already heard enough lies. Her breaths came quicker, her hands unsteady as she finally lifted the cover. Photos, recordings, proof. The moment her eyes landed on them, the tears began to fall. "Please," she whispered, choking on her words. "It was a mistake, a stupid, meaningless mistake. I never wanted to lose you." I exhaled slowly, the predictability of it all nearly comical. "I still love you," she continued, stepping closer, her hands reaching for mine in a silent plea. "We can fix this. I'll end it. I'll do anything. Just don't do this." I looked down at her hands, then met her eyes before pulling away. "This isn't about love, Sophia," I said, my tone even, devoid of warmth. "It's about respect. And you lost mine." She stood frozen, her gaze shifting from me to the divorce papers on the table. The hesitation I saw wasn't about saving our marriage. It was about salvaging her career, her reputation, the carefully curated image she had built. I leaned back, crossing my arms. "Sign them, Sophia," I said, "or we do this the hard way." Her lips parted as if to argue, but no words came. Instead, she swallowed hard, wiped her tears, and picked up the pen. Her fingers trembled as she signed, each stroke of ink sealing the end of what we once were. When she finally set the pen down, she looked at me one last time, her eyes pleading. "You won't send this out?" she asked, barely above a whisper. "You'll keep it between us?" I nodded. "As long as you don't make this difficult." She bit her lip, considering her options, though she had none left. She had played the game and lost. And just like that, it was over. The woman I had once envisioned a lifetime with had become nothing more than a closed chapter. She couldn't twist the narrative, couldn't paint herself as the victim or me as the villain. She had no defense, and that was what stung the most. It wasn't just losing me, it was losing control. With a shaky breath, she wiped the last of her tears. "What do I tell people?" she finally asked. I shrugged. "That's your problem." She frowned, waiting for me to hand her an easy excuse, a digestible reason for why our so-called perfect marriage had shattered overnight. Maybe she hoped I'd say, "We just grew apart," or "We wanted different things." But I wasn't going to make this easy for her. Let her come up with a justification that didn't drag my name through the mud. And the best part? She couldn't lie. Because if she did, I had the evidence to shut it down instantly. Looking back now, everything is clear. Sophia wasn't in love with me. She was in love with the stability, the status, the perception of what we had. She liked the idea of us, but not enough to honor it. That's the thing about betrayal. It rips away the illusion and forces you to confront the truth, whether you're ready or not. For a long time, I feared losing her would break me. But staying? That would have been the real loss. Staying would have meant living a lie, sacrificing my dignity, allowing someone else's choices to dictate my happiness. In the end, I walked away with something far more valuable than a marriage. I walked away with my peace. I didn't lose. I may have lost my wife, but I reclaimed my life. If there's one lesson to take from this, It's this: trust your instincts. When something feels off, don't ignore it. The signs were always there, but I brushed them aside because I didn't want to believe the person I loved could betray me. But the truth doesn't wait for permission. It just waits for you to open your eyes. Pay attention to actions, not words. Words are cheap. People will say whatever they must to keep you in their grasp, just like Sophia did. But actions? That's where the truth lives. Most importantly, never let someone else's deceit trap you in a lie. I spent too much time trying to understand why. But at the end of the day, infidelity isn't a mistake, it's a choice. And I had a choice too, to stay and let it destroy me, or to walk away and rebuild. If you ever find yourself in a situation like this, remember your worth. Don't beg for love, don't accept betrayal, and never stay where you aren't respected. You deserve better. Thanks for listening, stay strong, and always choose yourself. This story has come to an end. The pain of betrayal is inevitable, but remember, it's not your defeat, it's your chance for liberation. Loyalty, trust, and respect are the foundation of any relationship. When one partner destroys it with lies, it's not your fault. The key is not to cling to the one who betrayed you, but to choose yourself. Don't waste your energy on revenge. Walk away with dignity. Life is too short to live in deception. Remember, love should not be a battle for attention. Don't beg, don't prove your worth. If someone didn't choose you, you choose freedom. And that is the greatest victory. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.